Well, good evening and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining tonight's Wellness Wednesday webinar. Tonight is a very special episode because you're going to hear some transformational health journeys from people who have been using Zinzino's personalized test-based nutrition. So it is a real privilege to have this recording that we can all share with people that are nearest and dearest to us, who you know that are having health challenges and that we may be able to help. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, my name is Margie Dangerfield. I'm a registered nurse and midwife. I'm a speaker and an independent Zinzino partner, and I have been using Zinzino's personalized test-based nutrition now for 6 years. I'd just like to share this disclaimer with you because Zinzino doesn't make any claims that we can cure anything, but it does make sense that when we give the body the nutrients that it needs, the body starts to create or repair and create homeostasis. And that's when we see some incredible health transformations. So I'd like to share with you first my personal testimonial. So it was 6 years ago when I got introduced to Zinzino, and at the time I'd been taking omega supplements. In fact, I'd taken omega supplements for 20 years. And a very good friend of mine said to me, Margie, I think you need to take the balance test. I want you to have a look at this. It was just coming into Australia. So, of course, I thought, well, yeah, why not? I'm taking a supplement. I got tested only to discover that my omega-6-3 ratio was high. So that meant that I had an omega deficiency. I was pretty shocked at the time because I thought the product I was taking was doing its job, but we were guessing. I had no understanding of whether that formula and that product that I was taking was working. So a ratio of omega-6 to 3 should not be greater than 3 to 1, and mine was 8.5. So just so you know, at the time, this was in my early 50s, I had all the perimenopausal symptoms. I had joint pain, I had brain fog, I had low energy, my vision was deteriorating, I was forgetting things in the workplace, and so I immediately changed over to the balance oil. For me, that was an easy transition because I thought, well, clearly I'm out of balance, and the balance oil has got data to show that it works. So I started taking my personalized dose, which was 10 mils a day. And within 120 days, my ratio came down to the safe zone, which is below 3 to 1. But the most important thing for me was that my joint pain actually disappeared within 3 weeks, and my brain fog left. My energy went up. And what I wasn't expecting was that my vision started to improve. That was an added bonus. Now, I've been taking 10 mils every single day now for 6 years, and I do test periodically. As you can see, I'm completely in balance, which is a preventative health space, so we can reduce the risk of chronic degenerative diseases. And so I test now probably every 6 to 9 months just to make sure I'm stable, and I'm hovering anywhere between 2.5 and 1.5. So that's a good place to be. I don't get sick. I don't pick up colds and flus. I used to get recurring urinary tract infections as well. That's a thing of the past. So I feel very, very confident about Zinzino's balance concept, and feel very confident then to go on and share this with other people. So I would now like to ask Leone, who's listening, if you could share your mother's testimonial with us, that would be amazing. If you have your camera on, Leone.
Sure thing. Yeah, so my mum was in a real period of the things I started noticing with her were that her conversation became very difficult to follow. She would jump from one topic to the next. I'd be wondering what on earth she was talking about half the time and trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together, to the point that my sister and I had a discussion about the fact that we were concerned about her and cognitive decline. So I decided to test her, and she tested as 11 to 1. But maybe importantly, we'll have a little talk about what was happening with her omega-3 index. So, some of the symptoms that she was complaining about at the time was her brain fog. She was very lethargic, very tired. She described that she felt terrible. She had a dry eye condition that she'd been to many, many different practitioners to try and resolve, but to no avail. She actually had someone say to her that they just didn't know what else to try with her. She had cognitive difficulties, perhaps a bit of a funny little story. My nephew had a tattoo, which my mum was horrified about. And then about 3 months later, my mum saw the tattoo again and was horrified again because she had absolutely no recollection of seeing the tattoo for the first time. So that's the degree of what was actually happening for her in her brain. She has rheumatoid arthritis as well. She stopped gardening, and she didn't tell me at the time, but later on she did tell me that she actually thought that maybe her time was up and it was ready for her to go. So that's how terrible she felt. So she was at 11 to 1 in her test. You can see there on the result that her EPA, one of the most important omega-3s, was very low. It was negative 74.5% out of target range. And her DHA was negative 40.4%. We know that the brain fat is made up of 60% DHA. So her brain function was really, really struggling. But after only 120 days, I was almost shocked. Her second test came back at 1.9 to 1, which is well and truly under the range that we hope for of 3 to 1 or less. And in that 120-day period, she started thinking clearly. She looked back at where she was and actually said that the brain fog was so intense that she couldn't even kind of articulate it or describe it. She said she knew it was there, but didn't know what to do about it. So there was substantial conversational improvement, memory recollection. Her dry eye issues were resolved by about 90%. She had less joint pain. She started gardening again, and she regained her will to live. So really, really powerful. So importantly, her protective omega-3s, anti-inflammatory omega-3s, within 120 days, her test showed that her EPA was back within target range. Her DHA still had a little bit to go. She was still at minus 18.1% out of target range, but really substantial improvements in creating better health and better quality of life for her at her age, the ripe old age of 83.
Amazing. Fantastic. Thank you, Leone.
Thank you.
That's great. Your mum must be loving this program. And she'll never stop taking the products, I imagine, just like my mum loved the products. Okay, Beck, I would love you to share your story.
So my story, I got introduced to Zinzino in October 2022. At the time, I was 44 years old. I had two young teenage children, and I had severe depression. I had adrenal fatigue. It was just, I would say, like some people would say, maybe functioning, or in hindsight now, I say I wasn't functioning. And yeah, so I think and now also looking back, I can start from my memories when I was 12 years old, going on bike rides. I would have heat exhaustion, migraines, allergies, but all things that people go, oh, that's just normal. In my teenage years, I had very irregular cycles. And then when I had my children, yeah, I had severe depression and brain fog. What again was I was told that was just, postnatal depression, but it just never stopped. And I was suicidal. I think I'm only alive. Yeah, my children kept me alive. Otherwise, I would, it was so bad. So, but again, I went to doctors, I went to naturopaths, and they said, look, all your levels are fine. You're a healthy person. I looked healthy. I think I was high functioning. On the outside, I'd give all my energy to just be there, and then I'd go home and collapse. If I do a run or anything, it would take me days, if not weeks, to recover. If we'd even emotionally, things would take a long time to recover. So then when I started taking this, the balance oil, I just noticed that my energy got much better, very soon. Um, oh yeah, back to my test results. So my first test I did was 13 to 1, and it showed, that's not a good ratio. And in a way, I was really glad because I thought, oh, there is actually something not quite right, and I have room for improvement. And for me, that was hope. So, of course, this was all natural. I trusted the person who introduced it to me, and yeah, I started taking it. And so here in Australia, it was summer. So over summer, I noticed already an increase in energy and focus. I had to take my children to surf life-saving carnivals, and I used to just get exhausted packing the car. And so I've just noticed now it's been nearly coming up to 2.5, 3 years. For me, especially the depression, I don't go into deep dark holes anymore. I just have normal little ups and downs like everyone, I think. But I think also what's important, I'm still noticing after 2.5 years, I'm noticing improvement. Like last summer, I noticed that I didn't have the heat exhaustion. Again, something that I thought after 40 years of living on this earth, I thought that was just normal and that's how you felt in summer. And so that's why I also think all those layers, it's going through all those layers. I was not well for so long, and now bit by bit, it's coming back through the layers, and I'm still excited. I'm still excited to improve. Be better and healthier in my 50s than I was maybe my whole life. So yeah, I'm very grateful for this.
Amazing. Thank you, Beck. And, we hear this time and time again that I've been to my doctor. The doctor has said my bloods are fine, but then this is a piece of the puzzle that we're unraveling for a lot of people, and it's a biomarker that's not looked at in mainstream medicine. So I'm just so thrilled that you've had such complete transformation with your health. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Beck.
Thank you.
Now go on to hear from Lily, actually.
When I took the test, it was 15.1. 15.1, and after 120 days, it is 3.1 to 1. It's very good. Yeah,
Very good.
very, very good. Yes. And so in October, I heard a very loud noise on my knee and then like an explosion. And then I cannot walk. It hurts. I went for medical checkup. In conclusion, I need to have a kneecap replacement, and on crutches and on a wheelchair. And I was due to be operated April the 14th in Gold Coast University Hospital. So Karen introduced me the Zinzino. I took it and I was able to walk without pain. First, actually, I took it in October. Karen gave me a very small bottle, and that's soon gone. In 10 days, I took 10 ml. And because when I registered, it was like a Black Friday, something like that. And my supply doesn't come until 1 month later. So when it came, there was a gap for about at least a month. And by my second taking, when it came, I took the second time. First night, second night. The third morning, I decide to try to walk without crutches, holding table and chair, and no pain. So every day, I try to walk more steps. Till today, there is no pain. Of course, sometimes I was naughty. I feel like doing some running, see how much I can take. And so, till today, I can carry a heavy backpack with my laptop, with my water, and I still can walk normal like anybody. There is no pain, 100% no pain, not even a slight pain. And after 6 months, I put on 3 kg, but I lost 2 sizes.
Mhm.
There was such energy. I had such energy, such strength, and I can carry bricks from one end of the garden to, it's like from the front to the back, bending down. Of course, during April, I came back for my kneecap replacement. And I went in and the doctor said, Lililo, I said, yes. You are due for operation today. I say, yes. But you're all right. You're walking all right. What happened? So I said, oh, I had the Zinzino balancing oil and I've been walking. Then he said, okay, you're fine. You're fine. Go ahead. Take the Zinzino oil. So I don't need to. Yeah, from April, the doctor see me and said, you're walking. You don't even need an operation. So till today, I'm fine. Yeah. And I felt energy. I put on weight, but I lose 2 sizes. So April, when I came back, due for the when I came back in March, actually, and when my son-in-law went to the airport to pick me, oh, where is your wheelchair? Where is your crutches? I'm fine. So he's autistic. Yeah, he's autistic. He's about 9 years old. So he's balancing, his result is very, very high. 31/1. It's like, bro, the grandmother is only 15. You are 31. It's scary for a little boy, and I'm in my 70s, right? I'm 76 and he's only 9. It's scary. Anyway, he took it, and in 1 week, out of the blue, he could speak a sentence, 7 words. Normally, he said, no, mommy, yes, no, 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 mommy, no, no, only 2 words. Daddy, no. Everything is yes or no. And out of the blue, after 7 days, he was saying 7 words. My son-in-law was totally amazed. After 14 days, 2 weeks later, he could speak 2 sentences.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And by the 3rd week, his face doesn't look so autistic. Autistic has a very special feature and look. I don't know whether you notice, but all autistic, their eyes and their feature is a little bit special than us, different. And so by the 3rd week, the parents notice he's putting on a little bit weight and his eyes is no more that has a different. He's more normal looking. You won't know he's autistic if you look at him. So his feature changed. And when I came back this trip a few weeks ago, two weeks ago, and I was observing him to see any difference. And then I noticed that he spoke a sentence with 9 words. He said, Mommy, tell Daddy that I am a good boy. Well, 9 words. Amazing. He's speaking 9 words.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's so wonderful to know that he is able to communicate more efficiently and effectively with the family, Lily. That's brilliant. Yeah.
From my observation, I analyzed that now he can think. He's able to think. He's learning to think. He's able to make decision. So when he wanted something and the parents say no, and then they will reason with him and they said, you think about it. If you have this is what happened. You have that, and that's going to happen. Now you choose what you want. And then I look at him. Then he look. Then he think. Then he look up. Then he look down. Then he think. And he could decide. So I realized that he is able to think logically now. And he's more patient. He's more patient and more logical.
So thank you so much for sharing, Lily. I really appreciate you being
Welcome.
here. Now I'd like
Welcome.
to call on Lindsay.
Thanks, Margie. Yes, so I am 50. I would have been 49 most probably when I did this test. So on 25th of the 10th, 2024. I came across Zinzino from Alison Horn. She hounded me for quite a few months about this oil and taking the test. Anyway, I took my test. As you can see, I was a 13 to 1, and I was really shocked. So as an integrative health practitioner, helping people, working in the health arena for all of my life, I was really, really taken back by my results that I had this chronic silent inflammation. So I'd done a lot with balancing my body throughout perimenopause. I had a few knee aches, a bit of a hip ache. I knew my skin was changing, very dry. My nails weren't very strong. They would break a lot. My eyesight had deteriorated. So all these things, which again, we always put down to aging, and also, perimenopausal symptoms, for me was chronic silent inflammation that I did not know about. Because I felt okay, right? I'd get up each day. I had quite a lot of energy. I'd manage to keep going. But now, when you see my results, 1.7 to 1, and that's must be even lower now, I reckon, or hovering around that. I have stacks of energy. I can keep going all day long. My eyesight has definitely, I'm not wearing my glasses as much. I've got them on tonight just to look at the screen. But most of the time I'm not wearing them. So something's definitely changed there. All my joint pain has disappeared. I don't have really anything now. I can't, yeah. And I'm training like a demon. Like I'm lifting weights like I was lifting weights in my 20s, which for me, I was really struggling with my weight training. I was doing it, but it was almost like every workout I would do, and then it would take me 3 or 4 days to recover. I can now go, and recover really quickly, maybe, 1 to 2 days, and then keep going, and keep training. And I'm not getting injuries either. That was a big thing in perimenopause. I would pick up injuries all the time, my Achilles, my calves, like really little niggles. I don't have any of that anymore. Sleep really well. And I do feel very, we talk about being balanced and getting back into balance. I feel very balanced. Mental health feels great. So yeah, all in all, very encouraging, very exciting. I'm excited to see what's going to happen over the next 2 to 3 years as well. So yeah, thank you, Alison Horn. Thank you, Margie, for introducing me. It's very exciting.
Yeah, you're welcome. And it is such a pleasure to hear these incredible transformations, because how many times are we hearing people who are just walking around normalizing brain fog, normalizing joint pain, thinking, oh, that's all, I'm just getting old. No, it's chronic, it's like you said, silent chronic inflammation, and it needs to be addressed. We need to raise awareness and share this with more people so we can help people thrive just like you are. And I know you're helping an enormous amount of people in your community, Lindsay, and you are seeing this in helping other people transform as well their health. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And Kenny, if you could please share your product testimonial, that would be amazing.
Hi, I'm Kenny. I'm independent partner since May last year, 2024. And I got introduced to Zinzino by my wife, Yvette. She met Margie in one of the health seminars that she attended. So, and I started taking the oil probably towards the end of February, middle to the end of February. And after 120 days, it went down from 9.3 to 3.4. Mind you, I've been taking Ultra Clean 85 liquid by Bioceutical for at least 4 to 5 years, and I still came in and tested 9.3. So that it kind of worked a little bit, because if I hadn't taken any form of balance of fish oil, I might have come in at 15 or 20, like what my kids, those were the results from our kids. So it does work a little bit, but nowhere near where it needs to be. So, and about 8.5 years ago, I suffered a heart attack. And so I was on medication for the last 8.5 years, or for the last, sorry, should I say, for the last 7.5 years. Simply because when you have a episode of heart attack, the hospitals and the doctors will put you on things like cholesterol tablet, aspirin, uh, beta blocker, just to slow down your heart rate and hope you recover, to basically prevent your heart from beating faster. So after taking the oil for about 2 months, I thought I will. Let me just start by saying that I generally feel pretty good even after the heart attack. So after I've been taking the balance oil for a couple of months, I did not notice any immediate difference until I put my body to the test. So what I did was I went and played a game of squash, which I haven't done that for like 5 years at least. And normally if I do that, it will take me 6 to 7 days to recover the aches and pains and the tightness. So to my surprise, after being on the oil for only 2 months, I managed to recover after 2 days. All the aches and pains were gone. I wasn't quite convinced. Then I went for another squash game, and this time I played with regular squash players. And of course, I have to do all the hard work. And this time round, the recovery took 3 days as opposed to 6 or 7 days if I hadn't taken the oil. And 6 months into taking the oil, my heart rate went berserk. It went down from 60 beats per minute down to about 34 beats per minute. And I was constantly feeling dizzy. I couldn't function properly. And then I decided to drop. This is in consultation with a medical doctor. So I've decided to drop my beta blocker, and I've also decided to drop my cholesterol tablets at the same time. So the moment I dropped my beta blocker, my heart rate went back to 65 beats per minute, so back to normal again. So basically, to sum it all up, I know you've got a lot more testimonials to go. To sum it all up, Zinzino has given me a second win, and it's made me stronger. And so as a result of that, I have dropped my 2 out of 4 of my compulsory heart medication. And the only medication that I'm on now is the aspirin, is a blood thinner, and Entresto. So basically, Entresto conditions the arteries of within your veins and stuff. So I just kept those 2 on and dropped the rest. Because I now feel stronger, I've got my knees are stronger. It gave me the confidence to, in fact, most of our family, including our kids and their partners, we're going to be doing the upcoming Sunshine Coast Half Marathon on the 3rd of August. So it's 3 weeks to go, and we are almost ready to take part. So there you go. The last time I ran such a distance was 20 years ago. I did a full marathon and completed it, but I struggled big time. And that was at the age of that was at the age of 40 years old. So now 20 years later, I'm trying it again. Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't have. But I thought, what the heck? Just give it a go. And that's my story, Maggie.
Yeah, that is incredible. Thank you, Kenny. I'm so inspired by you and what's happened to you because cardiovascular disease is actually the #1 global killer. And we know, I mean, the literature supports this, that if we can drive a omega-6/3 ratio below 4:1, we can reduce the cardiovascular mortality risk by 70%. And that's exactly what Kenny's done. He's now preventing himself from having recurring problems with his cardiac function, and it's proving to work as you're now into balance and you're reducing the need for the pharmaceutical medication because your body has come back into balance. And that is extraordinary. Do you just want to quickly tell everyone about your ejection fraction measurements as well for those who?
Oh yeah. So when during the day of my heart attack, my ejection fraction went down to 35%. So a normal ejection fraction is anything between 55 to 70%. So mine went down to 35%. And after taking medication and all that, it has eventually gone up to 49. And I'm pretty sure the ejection fraction still remain at around 49%. And I've stopped testing anyway. So yeah.
And we do hear that from many other clients who've had cardiovascular problems as well. So I've heard quite a few testimonials. So thank you, Kenny. Thank you so much for
Thanks,
sharing.
Margie.
Yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled that you are thriving and you are about to run a half marathon. That is extraordinary with your family. Amazing. Well done. I'd now like to call on my beautiful sister, Sue. Thank you for joining us. I would love for you to share your story.
Thanks, Margie. Margie introduced me to the balance oil back in 2019, and I decided to change over. Margie had convinced me that I needed to do the test and change over because this was much better. When I first did my first test, I'm a keen gardener, and I had got to the stage where I couldn't garden any longer than an hour. I have scoliosis. I've got a double curvature of the spine, and that has played havoc with my back and shoulders all my life. So as much as I love the garden, I just was really, really struggling. So anyhow, I did the test. My test actually came back very good considering, and at 3.2 to 1. And then after 3 months, even though I had a lot of inflammation in my back, it was 3.2. But after 4 months, I had 7 weeks actually on the balance oil, all that back pain went. And I was finding that I could garden longer. And even to today, if need be, if I'm in the garden, I can garden all day. And I have no back problems, no hip problems. And the other thing that I did notice was I had the beginnings of Dupuytren's contractor in both hands, and I had a lot of pain, and that had disappeared without even me knowing it. My hair had thickened. My hairdresser couldn't believe how fast my hair was growing. And and I thank Margie every day that she made me do the test.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. And it's just good to be, as we age, staying mobile. Because one of the things that accelerates the aging process, yes, chronic inflammation, but it slows down the ability to move. And when we're not moving, we are restricting and shortening our lifespan because movement in itself is medicine, right? So thank you so much, Sue. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us tonight.
You're welcome.
Now I'd like to call on a very special lady who has joined us tonight, Danella. If you're there, I would love for you to come on and tell your story because you have a remarkable story and such a beautiful outcome of what has happened. I won't tell everyone what it is, so if you'd like to share, that would be amazing. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm Danella. I'm 35 years old. I got into the Zinzino oil back in 2023. I was finishing my registered nursing degree. So I was very chronically stressed. But basically I got onto the Zinzino oil through Margie's partner, who's at my work, and I was diagnosed with endometriosis. It was about stage 2, 3. I had surgery back in 2023 in May. That was after having been told by doctors that I was just dealing with constipation. Basically, I went off the pill at 31 years old because I had met the right person and I wanted to have children eventually. And then I was dealing with like very painful periods, and I had to go on some strong pain relief to function pretty much. And it got worse. I did deal with it back when I was in high school, but I went on the pill when I was like 18. So I didn't really have to deal with any of those severe symptoms until I went off the pill. So I went to the doctors because it wasn't just I could deal with the severe period pain, but I was dealing with a lot of other symptoms like hip pain, lower back pain, and I thought it might have been something else. So I was seeing an osteo as well. And he actually recommended I go see a gynecologist or a female doctor. So I did fork out extra money to see them, and was referred to a fertility doctor because I did have tests done and I found that my egg count was very low, which was very upsetting considering I was planning to have children when my degree was done with. So basically, I met Margie, started taking the oil back in at the end of 2023. Was taking it every day. Then had my period. Sorry for too much information, but didn't have any severe pain. And I was a bit skeptical. So I was like, okay, I'll see how I go. I went off the oil. The next month, my period was painful again. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll get back onto the oil. And I did. And since taking it every day, my period pains were it was like just slight pain on the first and second day, what you would usually expect. And the back pain and the hip pain was also resolved as well. I wasn't dealing with all those symptoms and the mood, like instabilities. And so, even my stress levels had reduced as well. And so I was relieved and I advocated for this oil. I even told my workmates and I gave some like a bottle to one of my workmates because I swore by it. And then I finished my degree, was ready to have children, got my egg count done again, the test. So the normal levels I think are above 5. Mine was at 2.6, and then I got tested again 2 years later and it just dropped down to 2.5. And I believe that because I was taking the oil, it hadn't dropped too much because I had 2 consecutive tests done and it had dropped significantly before I was taking the oil. So then about 2 months after taking that test, I fell pregnant. So I have a newborn daughter. She's breastfeeding at the moment.
Oh, yeah, so beautiful.
But yeah, she's almost a month old. And this is her.
Oh,
So
congratulations. She's so beautiful. Look at her.
thank you.
She's a little Zinzino baby.
Yes. So I genuinely don't think I could have, like, I was told that I needed IVF by my fertility doctor. And I fell pregnant naturally. And I genuinely believe that the oil did it did help because, there was a lot of concern and so I'm just very thankful for the oil. And I did get off it when I was pregnant just because I couldn't tolerate it. But as soon as I gave birth, I've been back on it. And so yeah, that's my story. But
Oh, congratulations, Daniela. I mean, these are the stories that we just love hearing about. And, you are a testimony that I just love to share because, like you said, having such high chronic inflammatory stress, that actually accelerates the age of women's eggs, which is a contributing factor why you had these biomarkers that were showing, advanced ovarian reserve because yeah, your biological age is accelerating if you have chronic inflammation. So then, therefore, the age of the egg accelerates. So we know that women who are trying to conceive should control chronic inflammatory stress. And every
yeah,
single woman who's trying to have a baby should have this biomarker test because if you're deficient as a pregnant mum, then the baby's deficient. So we were able to successfully control that for you, Daniela. And I'm just so thrilled that you went on to conceive naturally with your partner. And I congratulate
thank
you
you.
on your beautiful baby. And
Thank you.
yeah, she's adorable. So, yeah, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story because I know you're going to inspire a lot of people moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I advocated to my workmates and I've actually got a workmate who I gave a bottle to. Um, she was struggling to fall pregnant 'cause she had PCOS and she's currently, I think, 13 weeks pregnant. So
Amazing. Yeah.
yeah, and she contributed to started to take that oil as well. So yeah, I'm spreading the word around.
Amazing. Thank
Yeah,
you. Really appreciate you. And thanks
thank
for
you.
joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, on to Karen. Karen, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I will get you to turn your camera on. I think you have your camera on there. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, hi. I'm Karen, and I tested back in November. Oh no, my very first test was in July, but I didn't start taking the oil until November. So that's when I started taking the oil, and that was thanks to Kenny. And what I noticed was after 3 weeks, my joint pain, I had tennis elbow, golf elbow in both elbows because I've been in hospitality working at Qantas. So plus also having a dog and being a little bit stubborn sometimes and really pulling on that lead. Thank you, Bowie, which kept inflaming my elbows. But what I noticed is after 3 weeks, the tennis elbow disappeared completely. I was so elated. And I did have my knee was sore, um, just bending down all the time at work and walking on concrete as well. So I had a pillow under my knee. And after 3 weeks, I noticed, oh, hang on a minute, I don't have that pillow under my knee at the moment. So my knee just helped heal itself, which is great. The inflammation disappeared. And I also had, it was really harsh plantar fasciitis for about 5 years, walking on the concrete at Qantas for so long. And yes, I bought the right shoes, but I had the contributing factor of the balance oil as well. But one of the main things that I noticed was the foggy thinking lifted after 3 weeks, and I really needed to focus and concentrate to do some serious paperwork for my brother. And it just gave me that ability to sit down every night and work till midnight and get some paperwork done. And so that was like around the 3 week mark. At 2 months, I noticed sitting down cross-legged. But what I've noticed after 6 months now is feeling happier, feeling confident, feeling more joyful. So, not just having my joints feel good, but me as a whole, as a person, feeling happier. So the serotonin's kicking in, it's helping my brain function, and just I'm loving the balance oil. I'm loving Xenobiotic. I'm loving Zinzino. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Karen. And I am loving watching you thrive, going from, yeah, not feeling, joyful and happy every day to seeing you thrive and really grow as a person. So thank you so much for sharing your story. That is amazing. Really
Thank-
appreciate you and the inspiration that you're also giving so many others.
Yeah, thanks.
So what I'd like to do now is share 2 video testimonials to finish off, because these are very powerful stories. And unfortunately, these people couldn't be with us tonight. So I'm just going to share the first video from Kimberly, who is an endometriosis naturopath and clinical nutritionist, on her story.
Hi, my name's Kimberly and I am a naturopath and clinical nutritionist. I've also been dealing with endometriosis and adenomyosis for 24 years. Since a young teen, I have been very symptomatic with severe pain and digestive issues throughout the month, not just during my periods. I finally got a diagnosis of endometriosis and adenomyosis in 2013 after undergoing a laparoscopic surgery and excision of endometriosis. Since my diagnosis, my focus has been to pursue an anti-inflammatory lifestyle, which includes a diet that is very much anti-inflammatory, pro-healing, one which supports my digestive health and also my moods, because there is definitely a significant impact on my mental health when it comes to endometriosis, and I'm sure you would agree. So I was introduced to the balance oil by a doctor who was assisting me from a genetics perspective. So we looked at my genetics and looked at what epigenetic factors would be contributing to my overall health. Now, I also deal with a condition called POTS, which is a form of dysautonomia, and POTS stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And essentially that means that when I change positions and postures, it brings on an exaggerated, extremely elevated heart rate. So we looked at the genes that were impacting both conditions, and this doctor told me that I have a lot of genes that predispose me to significant inflammation. Now, I've been taking a practitioner fish oil, which is a decent fish oil, for many, many years now. However, when this doctor told me about balance oil, he emphasized the fact that balance oil is unique in it contains polyphenols, which is how omega-3 is found in nature. So omega-3 is found bound to polyphenols in nature. It's only through the manufacturing process, which then unbinds the omega-3 from the polyphenol. This then causes the omega-3s to become very fragile and prone to oxidation. So the polyphenols helps to prevent that. So I started taking the balance oil, and I noticed that after 2 menstrual cycles, my symptoms significantly reduced. Now, at this point in time of my life, I had been focusing on an anti-inflammatory lifestyle for over a decade. And when I did the balance test, my results were actually pretty darn good. So I attribute that to my diet and my lifestyle. However, I was still quite symptomatic, not terribly symptomatic, but I would really feel discomfort when my period was coming on, and I was still in pain when I was on my period. And after taking the balance oil for a couple cycles, I noticed that my period started to come on without me noticing any symptoms. And that was massive for me because I didn't have to stop what I was doing. I wasn't getting interrupted by these symptoms that were making me feel fatigued or in pain or uncomfortable. My periods were lighter, and by day 5, I was totally done. And this has been continuous since I've been on the balance oil, and I am using it in clinic with my patients with endometriosis with wonderful results as well. So if you're considering what steps you can take to help manage the inflammation that's a part of your endometriosis, and you're overwhelmed by all the things that are out there, this is definitely a wonderful starting point.
Fantastic. And I love Kimberly's approach. And as she said, she is using it in her clinical practice and seeing similar results with her clients, which is fantastic. The last testimonial that I'd like to share with you is a very good friend of mine. Her name's Dimity, and she was one of the first people that I did introduce to Zinzino. We worked together, and she has an incredible story to share as well. Oh.
My name's Dimity. I was introduced to the balance oil and Zinzino by my dear friend Margie about 2 years ago. Margie knew my personal history. I have a very strong family history of breast cancer and breast cancer surgery. So I chose to have a prophylactic mastectomy many, many years ago now. And that also resulted in a lot of reconstructive surgeries. As a result of all of that, I had a lot of inflammation in my body, and that was indicated by my cancer marker 19.9 was 3+ elevated for at least 5 years. And the GP obviously knew that I didn't have cancer, but when you have a tumour marker that's so elevated, it's very unsettling and unnerving. And I was constantly being scanned and poked and prodded and tested looking for cancer. So I did the balance test with Margie, and my first level was very high, about 32.1. And then I took the balance oil for the 120 days and tested it again, and then it had dropped to 3.8. And that was the only thing that I had changed or done differently, was introduce the balance oil into my diet. So I have no doubt whatsoever that the balance oil is what reduced the inflammation in my system and brought me great satisfaction and ease and reassurance. And when you've had a tumour marker so high for so long, it was wonderful to be down in the normal range like everyone else for the first time in 5 years. I did also notice by taking the balance oil that my achy hips and ankles were much improved as well. And my skin is very clear as well. I always get lots of compliments about my skin. And I think it's all due to the wonderful balance oil. And I have Margie and Zinzino to thank for that.
That is truly a life transforming, as all of the testimonials that we have heard from tonight. So I want to thank everybody for sharing their stories. And if you're wanting to do a little bit more research on the testing, I would encourage you all to go to zinzinotest.com, because this is where all the data is collected. So you can go to this site. The testing is independent. It's an independent third-party laboratory test in Norway. And you can go and look at all the links and downloads, the validity, see all the certifications there. And you can also look at the global data that has been collected around the world. So just quickly to share with you that data, on average, if you're not using an omega-3, AA is arachidonic acid, omega-6, EPA is omega-3. So that's the omega-6-3 ratio. On average, if you're just going about your dietary intake, on average, the global data from over 1 million tests is 14.8. If you are someone who's using an omega-3, like I was, and many of the people who've shared their testimonial tonight, their ratios are coming in at approximately 9.9. So you still have chronic inflammatory stress. Whether you get tested, whether you're taking or not taking an omega supplement, when you upgrade to the balance oil and you take it for 120 days and we take your second test, we can confidently show you that you will be reducing your chronic inflammatory biomarker into a safe category, into a safe zone, which is below or near 3:1. In fact, 95% of our consumers will safely transition into this safe zone. And that's what allows you to have those physiological changes. And we can show the measurable change at the cell membrane. So when you get to the test site, you can type in any country, you can look around the world. I'm just showing you what is happening here in Australia, which is most of our testimonials tonight are Australians. So globally, the company has analyzed 1.4 million tests, which is the largest database of its kind in the world. And unfortunately, I hate to say that 97% of the population are out of balance. So in Australia, we've only tested 16,000 people. Our average ratio is coming in at 12.3, but I am absolutely delighted to say that after 120 days, our consumers are converting to 3.1 to 1. So that is extraordinary. So if you're listening tonight and you're impressed with the stories that you've heard, please get back to the person that has invited you onto the call so they too can help you achieve balance.